So, hi guys, it's Modesty and welcome to my channel. I'm going to be doing a very different video, a video that I've never done on my channel before, nothing similar, nothing even remotely like it. It's not even like a let's chit chat video, it's nothing like that. It's not about beauty, it's not about makeup. I mean, I guess you could kind of make it like that, but this is about my abusive relationship. And yes, I was in an abusive relationship, and I don't really talk about it too much, and I don't even think about it too much. It's, and before I get into it, the reason I want to bring this up is I talked about it on my vlog channel, because I just like started talking about sentimental value towards things, and somehow I just like started going off and like talking about like my experience. And why I don't really have sentimental value towards things. And then, I mean, it was like a quick, like I didn't like go into detail about like my relationship, like not major detail. And I got a lot of feedback on that, and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I have a larger following on my beauty channel. By the way, my vlog channel link is always down below. And I feel like my story can help out, at least, if I'm helping out at least one person out there, then I've done my job. And it's always been, you know, a dream of mine to inspire you guys and to encourage you guys, and for this to be a positive space away from reality, and to just, I don't know, just to, you know, relax, have fun, you know, talk about makeup. But then you always have to think about there is the real world though, and you do have to come to terms with it. And there are, you know, bad things and evil people out there, and you don't always have to let that define you. And so I am here to share with you my story about my abusive relationship, why I thank him, and why I wish, and why I don't wish it hadn't happened to me. Like I'm not gonna say glad it happened to me, but I'm grateful that this happened to me. And I'm also gonna, you know, show you guys that you can get away, you can be strong, you don't need somebody, you just, yeah. So I'm just gonna get into it. So this, go back years and years and years. I was 18 years old, I had just been out of high school, and my best friend at the time, well, she actually is my best friend, had met this guy, and how we have always been is we have always like, okay, I need you to meet this guy so that, you know, we can approve of him, or I can approve of him. So yeah, she met him on the bus, and then she's like, hey Modesty, I want you to go hang out with him so that you can get to know him and see what you think. So I met him at the mall, and we hung out, and he was a very nice guy, very attractive. And, you know, we hit it off, and I told her, I was like, hey, you know, I approve of this guy. And then he started to show interest in me, and I don't know, I was young, and, you know, my best friend, we were young. But then his interest switched from her to me, like literally within a day. And that should have been like our tip off right there that he was a sleazebag. But we talked about it, and she gave me her blessing to, you know, get to know him more. And you might need a little background story for this, but how my personality had been for years and years, and my entire life essentially, was I was very much a people pleaser. This stems from my mom. She is mentally disabled. She has bipolar disorder, just all these disorders, and it's like to the extreme. And she was basically living the life she never had, she was living the life she wanted through me. So I never really thought I had a say in things. I never did anything for myself. I did what other people wanted just because that's all I knew. It wasn't up until I met my husband that, you know, things changed. But I never ever lived for myself. I can do a whole series on like what that caused and all the things that happened because of, you know, how I was raised and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole other story itself, but just so you have a little bit of background, that's why like I jumped into things with this guy, is just because like I felt like I had to. And my mom was saying, oh, you should do that, you know, she was telling me you should, and I'm just so used to saying, if my mom says I should, I do, you know. And yeah, so so I started dating this guy, and within 4 days I had, and I don't even know, like it just happened so fast. He was like such a smooth talker, and he apparently, like within 4 days, So I guess he bought like an engagement ring, and he's like, he told my mom, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna ask her to marry me. And I was like, I didn't know like what was going on, and like I said, I was a people pleaser, and my mom was like, so, well, when he asked me in the restaurant, I told him no, and then I was like, dude, I just met you. But then my mom was like, no, please, blah, blah, blah. She asked me, she says, no, you gotta do it, he's so nice, he's so handsome, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay. So within like 4 days, I had a ring on my finger. By the way, it still should have been like, he's crazy. And then all of a sudden, like, everything happened so fast. Like this is in like a 3 to 3.5 month time period, all of this. So then this is where it gets really tough to talk about. So that very night, we slept together, and it wasn't even that I wanted to. He didn't rape me, but I was very, like, what is the word, coy? Like, I always told people no, but because I was so scared of like disappointing people, like I guess I didn't sound serious when I would say no, so they would take my no as a yes. And so slept with them that night, and it's so weird because it's like you literally have no feelings. Like, I don't know, when someone lives their life through you for so long, you have no sense of self. It's really easy to kind of make it past tough things because your mind isn't like really there. I have barely any memory of like birthday parties and things because, I mean, my mind was never in it, you know what I'm saying? Because I never did anything for myself. I could do a whole nother video on that. So anyway, I'm gonna keep going with like this story. So I'm in this relationship with this guy, and then like a week to a week and a half into, no, 2 weeks into our relationship, so I was working at this job I had since I was 16. Loved my job, loved my coworkers. I was a hard worker. I was always at work, and he didn't like that very much. So when I wouldn't respond to my texts from him during work, like if I didn't respond within like a minute or two, he'd be like, what guys are you talking? What guys are you talking? And I'm telling you, this is like a few days into a relationship, you guys. What guys are you talking to? And he just kept hounding me. I'm like, no, dude, I'm at the drive-thru. I'm working. I'm busy. And then he would say, no, you're lying. You're cheating on me. Blah, blah, blah. And then he would come and like stalk me at my store, and like he would like sit in the lobby to make sure like I'm not talking to anyone, like any of the guys I worked with. And then one day, you know, I saw that I wasn't on schedule anymore, and I went to my manager, and I was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, well, you put in your 2 weeks. I'm like, no, I didn't put in my 2 weeks. What happened is the guy I was dating had put in my 2 weeks for me, and I went and explained to my boss. I was like, look, I didn't put these 2 weeks in, and he had noticed that this guy had kept showing up to my work and blah, blah. He's like, look, we don't need this kind of drama here, so, you know, we'll just call it what it is, and, you know, maybe someday you can come back, whatever. So I didn't have a job there, and at this time, this was when the economy was really bad. Getting a job was like close to impossible, and I really needed money because, you know, I wasn't living with my parents anymore. I needed, you know, money. So then the guy, he was I guess he had re-gotten his store manager position for As Seen on TV, which and so what he did is he's like, hey, you can work with me, which this was all part of his plan to, I guess, be in control. And so all of a sudden, he was my boss. He wrote my schedule. I was working from the minute the store opened to the minute the store closed, 7 days a week. And when his shift was over, he would sit there on my shift and stay with me. And if I wasn't on shift for some reason, I'd have to sit there during his shift. And then we got moved to it's like the same store but different location, and this one had like a bathroom in the back. And there was so many times like we'd be like fighting or whatever, like if I got a text, like, by the way, he like made me get rid of my phone, get a new phone number and all that stuff, and he like monitored who was in my phone and everything. And if I got a text from like someone, even my best friend who was a girl, like it was just constant like like berating me and like calling me names, saying you're cheating on me, you don't care about me, blah blah blah, you're a piece of crap, why are you being such a slut because this guy texted you, you know, the words hey makes me a slut, apparently. It was just so bad, and there was times when I was like, you know what, I want to get out of here, and he would lock me in the bathroom at the new store, because like he turned the thing so like you couldn't lock from the inside, but he would like lock me in the bathroom. And anyway, so I'd be locked in the bathroom, or I'd be locked in the storage room, because like, you know, like when you go into like the mall, like there's like storage rooms for the stores, you can lock those. I get locked in there, and then within like 2 weeks of our relationship, he would like so the house I grew up in, my dad was renting it out, and so this guy, the guy I was dating, decided to rent a room. And so my dad's like, I guess he called him like his landlord or whatever, like wrote up the contract and all that kind of stuff. So I was back living in my old room, but it was the room we were renting now. And I never really held much sentimental value towards things, just because my mom was a hoarder. She is a hoarder, and I never wanted to be like that. But there was a small amount of things, my artwork, my poetry, and like, you know, those like little football notes that you do in high school. I had an entire shoebox of them, and just like letters from friends and notes and all that kind of thing, all that kind of stuff, and you know, pictures I've drawn. So I had all of that, and he told me that I'm his life now, I don't need any of that, and he burned it. Gone. Like, I didn't have any of this stuff I wanted to keep, so it just kind of made me be scared to just have sentimental value attached to like anything, because it's like, why? What's the point? You know, he convinced me that's just stuff. So I didn't have any of that anymore. Like pictures of me and my friends in high school, like I have, and that's what another reason I struggle remembering things, because I have nothing. I have nothing to remind me like who I was in school or anything. Like even doing the, if you guys remember, I did the How I Did My Makeup in High School video. That was hard to do. Like I had to ask people, how did I do my makeup in high school? Because I didn't remember. I had no photos to remind me, nothing. So anyways, that happened, and then I found out, and this is within 5 weeks of our relationship, no, 6 weeks of our relationship, I found out I was pregnant. Yay, with his baby from that time. 4 days in a relationship when, you know, that. So, yeah, I found out I was pregnant, and that was the one day when he found out I was pregnant. That was the one day he was very nice to me. He was very nice to me. He gave me a massage on my back and everything. He took care of me. It was for that one day, and then it went all back to normal after that. I've had, you know, anxiety my whole life, and I started having an anxiety attack one night, and I remember, like, I was panicking, and when I have my anxiety attacks, I need someone to just, like, embrace me, and he told me to suck it up, and he took this, like, pitcher of water, and he just dumped it on me, and he said, alright, cool off, like, and so, like, my side of the bed was soaked with water, and I was like, okay, well, you know, now I have to sleep, you know, on this wet side of the bed, because he didn't believe in owning more than one set of sheets. So he's like, okay, we'll just deal with it. So yeah, and on top of that, so then the money that I kept getting from my paychecks all went to him, because he was the man in the relationship. And so I didn't even know he didn't have his license at the time, but he bought a car with my money, and it was in his name. I don't even know how the car was in his name when he didn't have a license, but he didn't have a license, he had a permit. And then the landlord said, okay, he's like, okay, Modesty, I'm okay with you being here, because he's a family friend. He's like, but your boyfriend has to go. And I was like terrified of like what would happen. So I left with him. And we ended up getting this apartment, and I didn't want to put my name on it. I said, okay, well, this is your apartment. He says, no, it's going to be ours. So he made me have my name on it. That bit of information is very important for the future. And this is, at this point, let's see, I'd say like a month and a half in our relationship. Yeah, so it's about a month and a half in a relationship. Let's see, having an apartment with him was like the worst. So I love hamsters. I think they're the cutest things of life, and I wanted a hamster. So I bought a hamster from this one kid who couldn't keep his hamster anymore, and they're just so cute and they're little. You can like cuddle them. And I upset him one day because I got a text message from a friend of mine, and I upset him one day, and what he did is, and this was in the middle of winter, is he turned off the heat. And hamsters, they need to be kept warm. So he turned off the heat, and I said, well, we need the heat on for my hamster. And he says, you'll just have to deal with it. He says, if you come home and it's alive, then it's alive. If you come home it's dead, it's dead. I came home to a dead hamster. He killed my hamster because I upset him. And then there were so many times I would like try and leave, and like I like tried to run out the apartment, and he like chased me, he like picked me up, and then he like threw me on the bed, and he locked me in our bedroom. And it's just so many times that he wouldn't let me leave, and he was literally there every second. Like if I was somewhere, he was there. Anyway, so to the part that like really like crushed my soul was when he made me tell my two best friends, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And he was watching over my shoulder, and he was saying, I couldn't even say that, oh, it's because, you know, so-and-so, the guy I was dating, says I can't. I had to say, because I don't like you, and I just don't want to be your friend anymore. And I had to say that I had him now, and that I didn't need them. Now my best friends, being my best friend, they knew that, you know, that wasn't true, but they were champs. They said, okay. So for a little bit there, I didn't think I didn't have any friends. I wasn't allowed to have friends. I wasn't allowed to go talk to anyone. I couldn't go out to lunch with my mom unless he was there, because he thought I might look at other guys. And then one time I just was like fed up with him. I'm like, I'm so done. And so I just walked out of the store. I was like, I just walked out, and I made it out of the mall, and I made it almost to the street, and then he kept calling me, and he said, you will not be able to get a job anywhere else. And this time, like, I was broke. He took all my money. I was like, oh my God, he's right. Like, he has me trapped. I need money, and the rest of my family was living in Montana at this time, so I didn't have anybody. Like, I had lost my friends because I told them I couldn't be friends with them anymore because I didn't want to be friends with them anymore. I had nothing. And so with utter shame, I walked back to that store, and he's like, all right, get back to work. And so that went on, and then, you know, because I was pregnant, that was an important piece of information. Once again, not having a lot of money, you know, he had me sign up for WIC, so you have to go to appointments. And he always told himself, I have to go to all your appointments. But here's the thing though, as seen on TV, was a very small store. There wasn't a lot of employees. So if there was no one to work and I had an appointment, he had to watch the store. Very important piece of information right there. So what I did was I had my mom take me to one of my WIC appointments, and I'm just sitting there. And you know, in the waiting room, there's like pamphlets and books, magazines, doctors, you know, random things. And this was like a woman's clinic, so it was like, because, you know, you go for, it's called Women, Infant, and Children, WIC. So I was at the WIC office, and there was like all these pamphlets. And you know how I am is like, I'm always like, I'm never like ever focused on things. Like, I'm always like looking around, like I'm staring off into space, but I'm like looking around. Like, I'm never focused on anything. But then all of a sudden, one title, like something like stood out to me, to where I actually focused on the title, and the title was Love Shouldn't Hurt. And this is important because I don't focus on anything. Like, when it comes to like sitting offices, that's me, you know? So the fact that I focused on that one thing, and it was like, I was drawn to it, and I got up, I walked over, I picked it up, and I opened it. And in the center leaf of it, there was all these questions. And I was just going through the questions. I was like, yes, 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 very much yes. You know, I answered yes to all questions but one of them. And then it said, if you answered yes to any of these questions, then you are a victim of an abusive relationship. And then all of a sudden it was like, it's like literally like my entire world was like spinning. I was like, oh, and it all came to me all at once, standing there in the WIC office. Like, it was like my brain moved so quick, and I was like, hold up, like it like I had been living for the past 3 months, and I'm like, I'm in an abusive relationship. And I just felt, realizing I all of a sudden felt like so empowered. It's like I felt like I had a piece of knowledge that like he didn't have. I was like, I have something that he doesn't have. And then I was like, right now what I have is opportunity. He is at the store right now. My mom is here with her car because I needed someone to take me there because I didn't have my license. And I went into the office and I had this look on my face. She was like, the lady, she was like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. And I was like, I explained to her, I was like, I'm in an abusive relationship, blah, blah, blah. And she went through my options. She was like, you gotta go. I was like, I know, I need to just leave. And she gave me a couple of phone numbers to call, like courts, like judges and things like that. And then it was like, before I gave myself a chance to second guess myself, I was like, Mom, let's go. And so at the time, now back to me not being friends, my best friend Alicia, at this time I wasn't friends with her, and her dad was very upset with like my decision to like move out because I was living with her before him, well, before the boyfriend, and he's like, I know you're making the wrong decision, blah blah blah. So, and I got in an argument. He was like my second dad, so like we argued like daughter and father, and so then I remember the day I moved out, he had called me. He says, if you ever, he's like, all you have to do is call me and say you want to come home. So I was in Kenmore with my mom, and I called, she ran into, oh yeah, I had my mom go into the pawn shop to pawn off the ring that I had because I was like, I need some sort of money because I'm like, I know I'm never returning to the store, so I need some sort of amount of money. And so she was selling the ring, and while she was selling the ring for me, because you need a driver's license to do that kind of thing, I called up my best friend's dad, and I said, and in utter tears, I was like, I want to come home. He says, done. So within 2 hours from that moment, he had picked me up. Well, no, my mom dropped me off there, and I got in his truck, and we went to the apartment. I got up, whatever I could get, you know, in one trip, you know, clothes, whatever I needed, because I was never coming back. And you know what? I never went back. And it's funny because when, so the boyfriend, he liked to keep tabs on me, so when you noticed, because I always had to answer the phone. If I didn't answer the phone, like I was in trouble. He noticed I wasn't answering the phone, he kept calling me, and he knew something was up because he had to watch the store. But what he did was he put down the brakes on, he took a 30-minute break, because when I went back to the apartment, there was a sign on the door that says, don't leave me, don't leave me. He knew because I wasn't answering the phone that I was leaving. And that's what I did. I left. I got my stuff and I left. Not even all of it. I left a lot of things behind. And I left. I saw that moment of opportunity. I took it and I ran. And I felt so good. So what happened was the boyfriend kept, or the ex-boyfriend at this point, he kept coming to my best friend's house. And so then my best friend's dad got him kicked off the property, and then so I was jobless at this point, right? And by the way, I do want to quickly side note, you know, yeah, I was jobless at this point, at least I thought I was. But Tony, the general manager, what he turns out that the day that I had left, the boyfriend, I'm just calling him the boyfriend, we'll just call him John. John apparently was making sexual gestures towards young girls in the mall, and he got himself kicked out of the mall and he couldn't be at the store. So my old actual boss, you know, the general manager, gave me a call. He says, I need you back at the store. And he knew exactly what was going on with my ex-boyfriend. And he said, you know, he's psychotic, he's never working here again, and he was not even allowed on the campus of the mall. So I now was a store manager, and I tried my best. So I told myself I need to get a restraining order against this guy. So I went through the courts, but the thing about me is I'm a very nervous person. Like, I can't talk to judges, I can't talk to cops without like jumbling my words. So the problem is that what it looks like is I look like someone who can't get my story straight. But him being the master manipulator, he's such a smooth talker. He turned the table and made it look like I was stalking him. I don't even know how he managed that, because that wasn't true. Like, I'm still like, like, how did he manage? I don't know how he managed that. But so they denied my restraining order, and but then I had remembered he had told me about his ex-girlfriend when we were dating. And he said, oh yeah, you know, she's crazy. She said she wanted to get a restraining order against me. She called me all this. And, you know, me being the loyal girlfriend, I was defending him. But I was remembering what he was saying, and then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. She has a restraining order against him. So what I did is, because I was a store manager, I messaged her on Facebook, and I was like, hey, I was like, you may not know me, but, you know, I'm this guy's ex-girlfriend. And she was like, she says, I knew one day you would message me. She said, I've been waiting for this. And I explained to her, she says, exact same thing to me. He tried to get me pregnant. He made me get matching tattoos. He made me move it, everything. Like to a T, psychotic, domestic violence, crazy, narcissistic person. Like, anyway, so she was like, how can I help you? What can I do to help? And I said, do you need a job? And she says, in fact, I do. So what I did, I hired her. Why? And I made sure that I always scheduled her for when I was there. So he couldn't come in, so because she had a restraining order against him, I was under that little umbrella of the restraining order. That was my little, like, how I was able to keep him away from me. Now, you know, if I had to cover at the other store, there was nothing I could do about that. And he did come in a couple of times when he found out I was working there, and he's like, oh my gosh, you've gotten so fat, being rude, blah, 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 like, stalker. And, yeah, but, you know, I had gotten, I was like, you know what, I don't care. Like, I just felt so empowered that I escaped something that's so toxic and dangerous and heartbreaking. And he tried to take my entire life from me, but I still have my best friends. They knew and they understood. And by the way, if you guys are watching this, thank you. I love you guys so much. But the reason I'm telling you all this is because you don't need to let the bad things in your life define you. And let me move to why I thank him. The reason I thank him, and the reason that I don't sit here and go, oh, I wish that never happened to me, because right now I'm talking to you guys, and if none of that had happened, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. If I hadn't met him or been in that relationship, I never would have joined the military. And had I never joined the military, I never would have gone to basic training at Fort Jackson and gotten stationed in El Paso. Meaning I never would have met my husband. Meaning I never would have had my kids. Meaning I never would have gotten bored in the house and wanted to start a YouTube channel. And this is where it, like, gets me choked up. Like, the abuse part doesn't get me choked up, but I never... The beautiful part is I never lived for myself. But the day before I met my husband, I decided I'm done living for other people, and then God blessed me with him. So, so you know what? I thank him. Thank you for doing that to me, because I would have remained a coward my entire life had I not experienced that. Had I not gotten pregnant, I wouldn't have been standing in that WIC office. So I did terminate the pregnancy, because in my mind he would have been in my life forever. I do not agree with abortion. This was years ago, where I was still like on the fence about it, that like in certain situations I thought it was okay. But I don't regret it, because had I not been standing in that WIC office, had I not terminated, everything happens for a reason, you guys. And God never gives you anything that you can't handle. He knew that I could handle it. I didn't know I could handle it, but when he made it so I could see that pamphlet, I know that That's the only reason I saw it that day, is because he said, okay, now is your time to grow and learn. And that's what I did. And so I think that crazy guy, I thank him for making me the strong woman that I am today, to give me this story that I can share with you guys, so that you guys know that you guys can literally do anything. If you're being abused or hurt or anything, you don't need them. You don't. And if it seems like your life is not getting better, it's gonna get better. Everything happens for a reason. That was a terrible time in my life, but I am so grateful that it happened. Like, so incredibly grateful that it happened, because now I can be sitting here and I learned who I was. I love being a mom, I love being a wife, and I discovered my passion for makeup and beauty and inspiring people. I never would have had any of that if I hadn't gone through that experience. So I'm so grateful for that experience, and I wish him the best. He did, by the way, end up going to jail, not on my behalf, unfortunately, but he did get what he had coming to him. I got sent a photo from one of my friends saying, hey, look whose mugshot we found. Now, by the way, creepy part, he was arrested in Texas, where I got stationed. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. But yeah, he was arrested for domestic violence, go figure. And then he was arrested again for domestic violence in another state, and then another state. So, you know, moral of the story is you can do anything. And if you're in a similar relationship, look for your opportunity and take it. You might only get that one opportunity, so don't sit on it, don't second guess it. If in your gut it doesn't feel right, then it's not right. Okay, so I just wanted to explain my story to you guys, and hopefully I had helped some of you guys out or something. It was a very personal thing to me, but I'm okay. I'm not sad. I don't sit here and go, woe is me, because you know what? I'm just so grateful. So I want to thank you guys so much for everyone who has supported me and who has just been along with me in this journey. And if you are tuning in to my channel for the first time, then I really appreciate you sticking it to the end, and I hope I have touched your life in some way. Share your stories down below if they're not too personal for you to share. I think that, you know, us going down in the comments and talking about our experiences can help empower each other, and, you know, let each other know that we can do this. We can. No matter what age, gender, lifestyle you have, there's always a way out. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. If you are new to my channel, thank you so much for tuning in, and I really hope you want to subscribe to my channel or check out a beauty video. I'll have one linked here for you. And if you're returning to my channel, thank you so much for tuning back in. I hope you learned something new about me, and I hope I touched your life in some sort of way. So God bless all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Mwah! Goodbye.